The sky cracked open like glass. One moment it was an ordinary night, and the next, streaks of silver fire tore across the clouds. People on the streets screamed and pointed, but no one could look away. Massive shapes loomed overhead. Ships the size of cities, dark and angular, moving with precision that defied belief. From the largest ship, a colossal figure emerged. The aliens' king, towering, armored, and crowned with strange jagged symbols that glowed faintly in the dark. He looked every bit the ruler of a race bred for war. His eyes, luminescent and cold, scanned the city below as if it were a toy to be crushed. A booming voice echoed across every speaker in every city simultaneously, translated instantly by the alien tech. Humans, surrender your world or be erased from existence. Panic rippled through the streets. Governments scrambled jets, but the human response fell hopeless. These weren't just ships. They were mobile fortresses, bristling with weapons that could wipe out entire continents. People ran in every direction. Sirens blared. And through it all, the king stood, surveying the chaos with a cruel amusement that made hearts freeze. But even as despair spread, something flickered in the human ranks, a stubborn, unbreakable spark. The alien king expected fear. He expected submission. What he didn't expect was cunning. Hidden in the shadows of a ruined industrial district, a small group of humans watched the alien king. They weren't soldiers in traditional sense, more like a mix of guerrilla fighters, engineers, and people who had survived the first wave of attacks. But in their eyes burned a dangerous idea. The king is just a man in armor, and every king has a weakness. Among them was Ethan Hale, a former pilot turned resistance leader. His face was smeared with grime and sweat, his brown jacket torn, but his eyes were razor sharp. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. We're not surrendering. Not tonight, not ever. Beside him, a tech specialist named Liam Cruz tapped at a tablet, hacking into alien sensors. Lines of alien code scrolled faster than the eye could follow. If we can lure him here, just here, we might have a shot, Liam whispered, pointing to a derelict sector of the city that the aliens considered uninhabited. The plan was insane. The odds were astronomical. But desperation makes humans dangerous in ways aliens never understand. Meanwhile, high above, the alien king raised his hand, and the ships below answered. Energy beams sliced through the city, obliterating anything in their path. Streets crumbled, bridges fell, buildings that had stood for centuries were reduced to rubble. And yet, in the chaos, humans did something the aliens hadn't anticipated. They adapted. Small squads darted from cover to cover, using the wreckage as shields. Snipers fired from hidden vantage points. Engineers rigged collapsing buildings to crush alien drones. Every move was calculated. Every strike was precise. And from their vantage point, Ethan and his team watched as the king grew frustrated. He wasn't used to prey that could think 3 steps ahead. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. It was impossible to tell under the flashing lights, explosions, and the thunder of alien engines. And then the humans saw it. The first crack in the king's armor confidence. A drone miscalculated. A strike landed just out of his reach, leaving him exposed. For the first time, the king's massive frame faltered, his expression flashing something the humans recognized immediately. Anger. He's arrogant, Ethan muttered, a grim smile spreading across his face. And arrogance is weakness. As night deepened, the city became a labyrinth of fire and shadow. The alien king advanced slowly, his minions following, sure that victory was inevitable. But the humans had prepared the battlefield. Every alley, every building corner, every overturned vehicle was a trap. The king moved like a predator, but the humans were ghosts. They hit fast, vanished faster, and lured him deeper into their web. And then, the moment came, the trap was set. A building rigged with magnetic pulses, heavy chains, and collapsing steel waited for him. The humans held their breath as the king approached. Even his glowing eyes didn't seem to notice the danger. He was too focused on the city beneath him, too confident in his supremacy. Remember, Ethan whispered to his team, this isn't about winning a fight. It's about showing him. Humans are nothing like he thinks. And as the king stepped into the trap, a hush fell over the ruined city. The first move had been made. The hunter had become the hunted. The alien king, the terror of countless worlds, would soon learn a lesson he had never imagined. Humans fight dirty. Humans fight smart. And humans never, ever surrender. The alien king stepped deeper into the silent district. The streets were dark. Too dark. Broken buildings leaned like skeletons over the empty roads, their windows hollow and lifeless. Fires from the earlier attacks still burned in the distance, painting the sky with a dim red glow. But here, everything was quiet. Too quiet. Behind the king marched his elite guard, 12 towering warriors clad in black alloy armor. Their weapons hummed with destructive energy capable of leveling entire blocks. To them, this ruined city was nothing more than a graveyard waiting for its final burial. The king raised a clawed hand, signaling them to halt. His glowing eyes scanned the shadows. "Humans are near," he said in a deep, echoing voice. One of his generals stepped forward. "Impossible, my king. Our scanners detect no life." The king remained silent. Something felt wrong. Across the broken rooftops, hidden in darkness, dozens of human eyes watched him. Snipers lay motionless behind shattered concrete. Engineers crouched behind collapsed walls. Fighters waited in silence, fingers resting on triggers. No one moved. No one spoke. Only one man gave orders. "Ethan Hale," from his position high inside an abandoned factory tower. Ethan watched the alien king through a battered scope. His heartbeat was calm, steady, like a predator watching prey walk directly into its trap. Next to him, Liam Cruz monitored the alien scanners on a flickering tablet. "Their sensors are still blind," Liam whispered. "The signal scramblers are working." Ethan nodded. Months of preparation had led to this moment. They had studied the aliens carefully. The aliens relied on technology. Humans relied on creativity. And tonight, creativity would win. Down below, the alien king took another step forward. Metal groaned beneath his armored weight. Another step. Still nothing. The street remained empty. Suddenly, clang! A massive steel barrier slammed down behind the alien patrol, blocking the road. The alien soldiers spun instantly, weapons raised. But before they could react, boom! Explosions erupted across the street. Hidden charges detonated beneath abandoned cars, flipping them through the air like toys. Fire roared upward, separating the king from half his guards. The aliens fired immediately, energy blasts ripping through nearby buildings. But the humans were already gone. Gunshots echoed from rooftops. A sniper round struck one alien warrior directly in the visor. The soldier staggered backward. Armor cracked. Another shot. Another alien fell. The king roared in fury. "Cowards!" He raised his arm cannon and fired a devastating beam across an entire building. Concrete vaporized instantly, but the sniper had already moved. Across the rooftops, human fighters sprinted from cover to cover like ghosts. The aliens were stronger, but humans were faster, smarter, more unpredictable. Inside the factory tower, Liam grinned nervously. "They're panicking," he said. "Their formations are breaking." Ethan watched the king carefully. That was the real target. "Not yet," Ethan murmured. Below, the alien king stepped through burning debris, his armor glowing from the heat of explosions. One of his guards shouted something in their language. Then, another explosion erupted behind them. This time the ground itself collapsed. An entire section of road caved in, dropping 2 alien soldiers into a hidden pit filled with crushing steel beams. The trap had worked. The king's army was being torn apart piece by piece. But the king himself remained untouched. He looked up slowly. His glowing eyes locked onto the factory tower. For the first time, he saw Ethan. Even from hundreds of meters away, the alien king could sense him. The leader, the mind behind the trap. For a moment, the battlefield froze. 2 leaders stared at each other across the ruined city. Then the alien king smiled. A cold, terrifying smile. "So, you are the human responsible." Before Ethan could react, the king leapt. The massive alien body launched into the air with terrifying speed, crashing through 2 buildings as he charged straight toward the tower. Liam's eyes widened. Ethan? Yeah. I think he noticed us. The entire factory shook violently as the king smashed through the outer wall. Concrete rained down. Metal screamed. Ethan grabbed his rifle and turned toward the stairwell. Phase 2, he said calmly. Downstairs, hidden machinery activated. Massive electromagnets buried beneath the building powered on. Chains thicker than a man's arm shot upward from the floor. As the alien king burst into the room, wham! The chains wrapped around his armored limbs. Electric currents surged through the metal restraints. The king roared with rage as the magnetic traps slammed him against the steel floor. For a moment, the most powerful alien in the galaxy was pinned down, but only for a moment. The king strained against the restraints, muscles bulging beneath his armor. Cracks formed in the chains. Ethan realized something instantly. Those won't hold him long. The alien king's glowing eyes burned with fury. You dare lay hands on a god? The chains began snapping. One by one. Liam stared in horror. Ethan, he's breaking them. Ethan took a slow breath. Then he said the words that would change everything. Good. He lifted his radio. All units. The king is exactly where we want him. Outside the tower, hundreds of human fighters emerged from hiding. Tanks rolled into position. Rocket launchers locked onto the building. Every weapon humanity had left was aimed at one target, the alien king, and Ethan gave the final order. Fire. The command echoed across the ruined district. Fire. For half a second, the city held its breath. Then the night exploded. Missiles screamed through the sky like flaming comets. Rockets burst from rooftops and alleyways. Tank cannons thundered, their shells tearing through the darkness toward the factory tower. Every weapon humanity had left was unleashed at once. Inside the shattered building, the alien king looked up just as the first missile crashed through the wall. Boom! The explosion swallowed the entire floor in fire. Steel beams twisted like paper. Concrete walls collapsed. Flames roared through the structure as wave after wave of rockets slammed into the building. Outside, human fighters watched the inferno with tense faces. No one cheered. No one celebrated, because they all knew the truth. If the alien king survived this, humanity was finished. Inside a nearby command truck, Liam stared at the drone footage with wide eyes. That's overkill, he muttered. Ethan didn't answer. His eyes remained fixed on the burning tower. Keep firing, he said calmly. Another volley of rockets launched. The building collapsed inward with a deafening roar, burying the alien king beneath thousands of tons of steel and rubble. Silence followed. The flames crackled. Smoke climbed slowly into the night sky. Minutes passed. No movement. No sound. A soldier finally spoke over the radio. Target eliminated? Ethan didn't respond. He was still staring at the ruins. Something felt wrong. Then suddenly, boom, the rubble exploded outward. Chunks of concrete flew through the air as a massive shape burst from the wreckage. The alien king. He stood in the middle of the destruction, armor scorched and cracked, glowing veins of alien energy pulsing across his body. Smoke rolled off his shoulders like fog, but he was still standing. And he was furious. The alien king roared so loudly that windows shattered across the district. You will all die. With terrifying speed, he grabbed a destroyed tank nearby and hurled it across the street like a toy. The vehicle smashed into a building, erupting in flames. Human soldiers scrambled for cover. Machine guns opened fire. Bullets hammered against the king's armor, but barely slowed him down. He moved through the battlefield like a walking disaster. Every step crushed pavement. Every swing of his massive arms sent vehicles flying. Within seconds, the trap began collapsing. From a command truck, Liam looked like he might faint. Okay, new plan. New plan. Ethan remained calm. Relax. Relax. Liam shouted. He's throwing tanks. But Ethan was watching something else. The king's armor. The earlier bombardment had done more damage than it appeared. Large cracks ran across the chest plate. The glowing power core beneath it flickered slightly. A weakness. Ethan picked up his radio. All units switched to Phase 3. Across the battlefield, hidden teams activated their final weapon, harpoon launchers. Massive steel spears shot through the air, slamming into the alien king's armor with explosive force. Thunk! One struck his shoulder. Thunk! Another buried itself in his leg joint. The king roared as thick cables attached to the harpoons tightened instantly. Armored trucks accelerated in opposite directions, pulling the cables tight. The alien king stumbled, but he didn't fall. Instead, he grabbed one cable and ripped the truck off the ground, flipping it through the air. The vehicle crashed violently nearby. Humans kept firing. More harpoons struck him. More cables tightened. 10, 20, 30 cables pulled against him from every direction. Finally, the king dropped to one knee. The ground cracked beneath the impact. Ethan stepped out from cover and walked slowly toward him. Around them, the battlefield went silent. Soldiers watched nervously. The alien king lifted his head, glowing eyes locking onto Ethan. Even kneeling, he towered over the human. Pathetic creature, the king growled. You believe this is victory? Ethan stopped a few feet away. He looked up at the towering alien calmly. No, Ethan replied. This is just the beginning. The king suddenly lunged forward, snapping several cables at once. Soldiers panicked, weapons raised. But before he could break free, Liam's voice shouted over the radio. Now! From the rooftops above, a massive electromagnetic pulse device activated. Boom! A powerful wave blasted outward. The alien king's armor instantly shut down. The glowing energy core went dark. The joints in the suit locked solid. The giant alien froze mid-movement. For the first time since arriving on Earth, the alien king couldn't move. Ethan stepped forward slowly. Then he did something no alien in history had ever experienced. He grabbed the king's collar and pulled. The cables tightened again as hundreds of soldiers began dragging the powerless alien across the broken street. The mighty ruler of an interstellar empire fell face first into the dirt. Gasps spread across the battlefield. The alien king struggled, but without his armor, he was helpless against the cables and machines pulling him down. Humans surrounded him, weapons pointed, engines roaring, chains tightening. The impossible had happened. Humanity had captured their king. Ethan leaned down and spoke quietly into the alien's ear. You wanted war, he said. Now you're going to see how humans end one. Far above them in the sky, the alien fleet watched everything unfold. And for the first time, the invaders felt something they had never felt before. Fear. The alien king had never known humiliation. Across dozens of conquered worlds, his name alone had been enough to make entire civilizations surrender. Cities had fallen at the mere sight of his warships. Kings and emperors had knelt before him without a fight. But now, his face scraped against broken asphalt as chains dragged him through the streets of Earth. The once mighty ruler of the alien empire lay bound in thick steel cables, his massive body pulled forward by armored trucks. Sparks flew from the chains as they scraped against the road. And everywhere around him, humans watched. Some stood in silence. Some stared in disbelief. Some cheered. The alien king tried to rise again, but without the power of his armor, his body was restrained by dozens of magnetic locks and heavy chains. Every time he struggled, the cables tightened harder. The king roared in rage. Unhand me! His voice thundered through the ruined district. But the humans didn't stop. The convoy kept moving. At the front of it all walked Ethan Hale. His jacket flapped slightly in the smoky wind as he guided the trucks through the shattered city. Behind him, hundreds of soldiers marched beside the captured alien, weapons ready in case the king somehow broke free. But Ethan knew something important. This wasn't just about capturing the king. This was about sending a message. High above the city, the alien fleet still hovered. Gigantic warships blocked the stars. Millions of alien soldiers watched the scene through their scanners. And they were witnessing something impossible. Their king defeated, dragged like a prisoner. Inside one of the alien command ships, a tall officer stared at the live transmission in shock. How is this possible? One of the generals whispered. The king has conquered entire star systems. How can humans do this? No one answered, because they were watching the same terrifying truth unfold. Humans didn't fight the way other species did. They didn't rely on strength alone. They relied on something far more dangerous: persistence. Back on the ground, the convoy rolled deeper into the city. The streets slowly began filling with civilians who had survived the earlier attacks. They stepped out from shelters, alleyways, and underground tunnels. At first, they watched cautiously. Then someone shouted, "That's the Alien King." More people gathered. Thousands lined the streets. Children sat on their parents' shoulders just to see the captured monster. Elderly survivors leaned on broken railings as they stared in disbelief. The king felt their eyes on him. Humans, weak, primitive, animals compared to his empire. And yet, these creatures had done the impossible. The king bared his teeth and growled toward Ethan. "Human?" Ethan glanced back calmly. "Yes." The Alien King spoke slowly, venom in every word. "You believe this humiliation will break us?" Ethan stopped walking. The convoy halted. Engines idled. The crowd fell quiet. Ethan turned around and walked toward the Alien King again. He crouched down so they were face to face. For a moment, the entire street was silent. Then Ethan said quietly, "No." The king frowned. Ethan stood again and gestured toward the thousands of humans watching. "This isn't about breaking you." He looked up at the alien fleet in the sky. "It's about showing you something." The Alien King followed his gaze upward. For the first time, he noticed something strange. Human cameras, drones, broadcast satellites. The entire scene was being transmitted across the planet and beyond. Every alien ship, every alien soldier, every alien citizen in their empire was now seeing their king lying helpless in the dirt. Ethan spoke again, his voice louder this time. "You came here thinking we would beg for mercy." He pointed down at the king. "Instead, the galaxy gets to watch your ruler dragged to the streets of the world he tried to conquer." The crowd began murmuring. Some people started cheering again. Others simply watched with grim satisfaction. The Alien King suddenly realized what Ethan was doing. This wasn't just humiliation. This was psychological warfare. Empires depended on fear, and humans had just destroyed the Empire's greatest symbol of power. The king's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You have made a terrible mistake." Ethan smiled slightly. "Asterisk, no," he said. "You did." Asterisk. Suddenly, Liam's voice crackled over Ethan's radio. "Ethan, we've got movement." Ethan pressed a radio. "Where?" "Asterisk, the alien fleet," Liam said nervously. "Their ships are powering weapons." People in the streets began looking up nervously. The massive alien warships above the city started glowing with energy. If they fired now, the entire city would be vaporized. The Alien King laughed darkly. "You see, even now my empire will burn this world before letting you keep me." The tension in the air was unbearable. Thousands of humans stood frozen. Missiles could fall at any moment, but Ethan didn't look worried. He slowly turned his gaze toward the sky and waited. Seconds passed. Then something unexpected happened. The alien ships stopped charging their weapons. The glowing energy faded. Inside the command ships, alien officers hesitated, because every one of them understood the situation. If they destroyed the city now, they would kill their own king. For the first time in the Empire's history, the aliens were the ones trapped. The Alien King realized it too. His eyes widened slightly, and Ethan leaned down once more. "Welcome to Earth," Ethan whispered, "where humans don't play fair." The convoy started moving again. Chains dragged across the pavement, and the Alien King was pulled deeper into Human City, while the entire galaxy watched. The convoy rolled through the ruined city as dawn slowly began to rise. For the first time since the alien invasion began, the sky wasn't filled with explosions. Instead, a pale orange light crept across the horizon, illuminating the wreckage of buildings and shattered streets. And in the center of it all, the Alien King was still being dragged forward. His once glorious armor hung broken and powerless. Chains wrapped around his arms, his legs, and his chest. Every movement only tightened the restraints further. The mighty ruler of an interstellar empire now looked like nothing more than a captured beast. But the most important part wasn't happening on the ground. It was happening in the sky. Across the alien fleet, every ship was still watching the live broadcast. Millions of alien soldiers stood frozen in their command halls. Generals whispered nervously. Strategists argued, because something had changed. For centuries, their empire had conquered world after world. Their enemies had always done the same thing. When defeat seemed certain, they surrendered. They begged. They negotiated. Humans had done none of those things. Instead, they had done something the empire had never seen before. They had captured the king. Inside the largest alien command ship, the High War Council gathered around a massive holographic screen. The image showed the convoy still moving through the human city. One general slammed his clawed hand against the table. "We must fire on the planet immediately." Another officer snapped back. "If we do that, we kill the king." Silence followed. The empire had always relied on absolute authority. The king wasn't just a ruler. He was a symbol of their dominance. If he died, the empire could fracture overnight. Meanwhile, on Earth, the convoy finally stopped in the center of the city. It was once a massive public square. Now it was surrounded by broken towers and damaged streets, but thousands of humans still filled the area. More arrived every minute. Word had spread across the entire planet. The alien king had been captured, and now everyone wanted to see it with their own eyes. Ethan climbed onto the wreckage of an overturned vehicle, so the crowd could see him. The noise slowly quieted. He looked across the massive crowd of survivors. Some were injured, some had lost family, some had lost everything, but none of them had surrendered. Ethan then turned and pointed at the alien king, lying on the ground. "This creature came here believing humanity was weak," he said loudly. The crowd listened in complete silence. His empire thought Earth would fall in a single day. Ethan's voice hardened. They thought wrong. A wave of cheers erupted across the square. But Ethan raised his hand again. The cheering faded. He wasn't finished. Above them, the alien fleet still filled the sky, and Ethan knew they were watching, so he spoke directly to them. "Listen carefully," he said. "This is the part where most civilizations beg for peace." He gestured down at the alien king. "But humans aren't most civilizations." The alien king glared up at him, fury burning in his glowing eyes. "You will regret this," he hissed. Ethan ignored him. Instead, he reached down and grabbed the chain connected to the king's restraints. Then he did something that shocked everyone watching. He pulled the alien king forward into the center of the square, right in front of thousands of humans, right in front of the alien fleet, right in front of the cameras broadcasting across the galaxy. The alien king struggled helplessly, and Ethan spoke one final time. "You came here wanting war." He leaned closer to the alien ruler. "Now you get to watch how humans end one." Ethan lifted his radio slowly. The alien fleet watched nervously. So did the humans, and then Ethan gave the command. Release the broadcast. Across space, thousands of signals activated. Human satellites, hidden probes, and deep space transmitters all sent the same message across the galaxy. A recording. It showed everything. The alien king threatening Earth. The alien fleet destroying cities. The invasion. And finally, the king being captured and dragged through the streets. Ethan looked up at the sky. "Your empire built its power on fear," he said. "Now the entire galaxy knows the truth." The alien king realized the trap far too late. This wasn't just a military defeat. This was the collapse of their reputation. Other civilizations would see that the empire could be beaten. Rebellions would start. Allies would abandon them. Fear, the weapon they had used for centuries, was gone. For the first time since the invasion began, the alien fleet slowly began turning away from Earth. One by one, the massive warships powered their engines. They weren't firing. They weren't attacking. They were retreating. The crowd stared upward in disbelief. The impossible had happened. Humanity had forced an alien empire to retreat. Cheers erupted across the square. People hugged each other. Soldiers dropped to their knees in relief. But Ethan remained calm. He looked down at the alien king one last time. "Tell your empire something for me," he said quietly. The alien king glared up at him. Ethan's voice dropped to a cold whisper. "If you ever come back to Earth." He tightened the chain slightly. "Next time we won't stop at dragging you through the streets." The alien king said nothing. For the first time in his life, he had no answer. And as the alien fleet disappeared into the stars, a message spread across the galaxy. A warning. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, and they were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Rocket,